Three, two, one, go. Hello and welcome to the Shadowcast with your host Thomas Anderson and tech wizard Abigail Moat.
I have returned once more. Against my will.
What?
I couldn't think of anything else to say.
I'm here against my will. Okay. Phone the UN. Get international rescue.
Thank you for starting on time today.
Look, I'm always on time.
The special Tommy clock.
Look, we might call you a tech wizard, but I'm an actual wizard. And a wizard is never late.
No, you're thinking of a queen.
No,
Queen
a
is
wizard
never late. Everyone else is simply early from the
No.
Princess Diaries.
No. A wizard is never late. They arrive precisely when they mean to.
What's that from?
The Lord of the Rings.
Ah, I liked that movie.
There's 6 of them.
I liked one of the movies. I didn't like any of the others. I mean,
Really? Which?
well, my favourite one is The Fellowship of the Ring. I like the others, but I kind of liked the first Hobbit movie, but I did not like the last 2 Hobbit movies. There was no need for that book to be stretched to 3 movies.
I disagree about the length of it, actually. I think that was okay. My issue was the CGI.
I was really, for some reason, that third movie, do you know why? You know how they had like CG, I can never pronounce it right, the Elven City, Rivendell? Rivendell.
Yeah.
Do you know why that was all CG?
Well, it was Rivendell, wasn't it?
Well, anyway, do you know why it was all CG?
Aye.
Yeah.
Why?
You said you knew why, so tell us.
No, CGI.
No, okay, well, do you know why it was?
No.
All the sets, all the models they used for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, they got destroyed after the Lord of the Rings movies. So they couldn't recreate them, so they thought they could just computer whiz it, but it didn't look as great. It didn't look as authentic or as rich. And that's why, because a lot of the models from the Lord of the Rings movies were destroyed. In Hobbiton you can go visit. I don't know how those two things relate.
Yeah, no, you're right. They built Hobbiton, whereas they just made set pieces for everything else, which would have been broken.
Yeah, but I think it was an I don't know if it was an accident. Because
I think it might have been a transport accident now that you tell me. I'm trying to, I think I remember something in the back of my head that they might have dropped them or in transport.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Anyway.
Anywho.
What are we talking about? Anyway, right. We both completed games recently.
What were we talking about before we started talking about? Oh, right. We were talking about quads. Quads? What?
What?
Quotes. We're talking about quotes. Quads.
Quads. Right, let's just move on to games we've recently finished. Quads. What? Right, come on. What have you been playing? Did you finish it?
Yes,
you did.
Yes, I did. I finally, because somebody blessedly bestowed the Game Pass upon me, was able to play What Remains of Edith Finch. This game came out, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, and everybody was playing it because I would say it's more like an interactive story more than anything else, because you're not doing any great feats, like you're not fighting monsters or anything like that. Basically, you're following a young, how old is she? I think she's supposed to be 17 years old, going back to her childhood home. Well, not so much her childhood home, but the home she spent the most time in. It was her grandmother's house. There's the Finch house. And nobody's been there for many, many years, and she's by herself, and her mum has passed away, and she's left her a key to something within the house. And so she's going back there to kind of like rediscover all these stories about her family, because there's kind of like they call it like a monster, but it's more like a curse on the family. I don't know if it's a what's the word I'm looking for? Self-fulfilling prophecy in a lot of ways, but I've lost track of what I was saying.
She's gone back to her grand's house with a key she got from her recently deceased mum to find something.
Yeah.
And she's rediscovering stories of her family,
Yeah, so
and you
basically,
think there's a
yeah, so the family has experienced tragedies in the past, like members of the family dying, and each of the family members had a room within the house, and after they died, they didn't touch the room. So kind of like each room's like a memorial to that person, and you kind of find out you'd find out officially, I think, what happens to a few of the family members, but other members it's just a total mystery. And you can play as some of the members of the family as your character progresses through the house. She's writing a story. It's like she's writing this all down in a book for somebody. You eventually find out who it is. Yeah, it's sad. It's just really sad. But it's interesting how they do it, how they kind of like maneuver about the place in this house. I didn't take any gameplay footage of it. I'm afraid it was more just
no, that's fine.
just for me. I've
Mhm.
explained that very badly.
So no, you've watched through the story well enough. Considering it's a game that is mostly story, it wouldn't work to actually explain any more of it. So tell us about how the graphics and sound don't matter nowadays. Tell us about how it feels to play. What you actually the mechanics, the gameplay.
Well, it's first person, so it's like you can't see the character, so you are the character. And some there's a thing where if you're like looking at a book or something like this, it kind of just stays on the screen, and you have to move like press different buttons on the controller, like it seems like all the time, because there's no like prompt to use left trigger to turn a page, and you're having to figure it out. And sometimes those controls are a little bit off, but sometimes you're repeating the same motion over and over again, and you're trying to do something else. So that's a bit annoying, especially if you're like turning keys, reading books, reading letters. Sometimes even just maneuvering about the place is quite difficult.
So it doesn't give you any context clue as to what to actually do.
It does and it doesn't.
Okay.
If you move past something quick enough, you're going to miss like a little hand symbol that's normally an indication that you're supposed to go over there, or a little white dot that indicates
Right.
that you need to do something. And also, as you progress through the house, your character is drawing down members of the family that you've just found out about.
Right. But there's little white dots everywhere. What does that remind me of? Telltale games? Did they not have little white dots over
I
everything?
can't really remember, but the stories themselves are quite heartbreaking,
Right,
especially
okay.
like Gregory's one. Gregory's one is very sad because I think it's one of those, like, Molly's story is very strange. I had watched people play this before I went to actually play it myself. I'd seen a few YouTubers play it, but having to play through it knowing how certain stories end was a bit uncomfortable in certain respects.
Okay.
Especially Gregory's one really was really, really sad, because like even when I was watching people play through it, you knew what was going to happen.
Right,
You
okay.
could because you could predict it.
Yeah. But it doesn't make it any less entertaining to be able to predict the story because you start to think, is there a twist?
So yeah, you kind of like find out about so basically this entire family started with a family moving from, I feel like it was Finland, but I can't remember. It's like one of the Scandinavian countries.
Scandinavia.
I thought Scandinavia was like a region.
Yeah.
Like Finland and Norway and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was all like,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was a Scandinavian country, so the
Yeah.
area known as Scandinavia.
So they take this house on a boat, and their aim is to get to America.
Right.
Pretty sure it is.
Right.
I think it's set in America. I'm pretty sure it is. I am now questioning everything. Yeah.
Right. Hold on. It's a story game, so there's no things like combat or anything like that.
No.
Is there puzzles?
Well, oh yeah, loads of puzzles. It's a puzzle game.
Okay. Puzzles.
Yeah, I would say it's more of a puzzle game. But it's really interesting because they've got like they've got different ways of not so much playing it, but when you do Barbara's story, her story is done differently to the rest of them in terms of how you're playing it. Like Barbara's story is told via a comic book strip.
Right.
Mm.
Okay.
I think it's Milo's story is told in terms of like one of these sketchbooks where you go really really fast, and
Right.
it plays a scene out.
Yeah.
There's that. Lewis's story is told in the aspects of a video, like a very basic video game, as it were, which sounds really strange, but because it's like a real life scenario, they have an aspect where he's like a little video game character at some points. That's what it looks like, and it's very difficult to explain, but that's what it's like.
Okay, so there's lots of different ways in which they tell each of the stories.
Yeah, Molly's story is just bizarre.
So before we tell everybody, all of the people in the game,
I actually can't remember any of the other characters. I can't remember their names.
what do you think?
I like the different aspects of how there's also a story that's told through photographs. I won't say whose it is. So I like that kind of aspect, the fact that it changes up quite a bit. And sometimes you actually forget how, because you're so engrossed in that kind of aspect of it,
Yeah.
that you forget what you're actually doing.
But what did you think
It's
of the
good.
game?
It's good. It's good, but it's sad. Like I said, it's sad. So if you're going into it wanting like a happy, fun game to play, I wouldn't suggest this game.
Okay.
If you're wanting something that's got quite a lot of puzzles and just weirdness, then yeah, it's a good story.
So it sounds like you would recommend it. You just got to be in the right frame of mind to play it.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that everything?
Well, it is a game and it's not a game. I've been playing. Well,
Right.
I say I've been playing it. I've started taking up running, and there is an app called Zombies Run,
Right.
which is like an interactive game. So
Okay.
it has like story modes, and it's also got somewhere you could activate a zombie run in the game. And the idea is that as you run, you collect things like like if you're playing an actual game, you could collect like bottles of, like, it's a bit like reminds me kind of like of Fallout, where you like go, or even like The Division. If you go around, you collect loot, and it's like, oh, it's a medipack or something like this.
Right.
As
But
you
if it's things like food and water as well, you'd call that a survival game.
Yeah. So you can collect like medipacks, bottles of water, trousers as you go. And the idea is that you're living through a zombie apocalypse. But as you run more, you collect more stuff. And also you can activate like zombie run, which is that at some point in the game, you hear like zombies through your headphones, and you have to run, I think, faster to evade them.
Right. Okay.
So it's interesting. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun to kind of use that. I saw it on TikTok. So yeah, that was really interesting, and I will have a go at it some more and see what happens.
See if there's any additional story element or if you get some sort of flashy prize on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what have you been playing?
Well, I've been playing a few different games because I've just been sort of toying around, to be honest. Smaller games, older games, I've just been toying around. And I've been playing a game called G.R.A.W. Or to give it its full title, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter. Came out in 2006. It's an old 360 game. It's a Tom Clancy game, Ubisoft. And it's difficult actually because it's weird. When it came out for the PlayStation 3, that's the one. And the PC, I think it was a PC. It was a first-person action shooter with some tactical elements. But I'm playing it on the 360, and on the 360 it's third person with tactical elements, and I think the tactical elements are a little bit more heavily enforced. So to start from the beginning, in my version, it's your third person. It's a warfare game. It's based, I think, in 2006, or it could be slightly further ahead of that in Mexico, mostly in Mexico City, I think. You're an American soldier, and essentially what happens is a bit of a war breaks out in Mexico, and then everything goes a bit weird. I There's tactical elements, so when you're able to run, you've got a team sometimes with your 3 guys, and it's a cover-based shooter. You need to be in cover. I played it on hard, which is one shot kill for me. I die if I get hit, and it's really, really hard. You have to go from cover to cover, and you have to use your team properly. But if you use them improperly, they'll get wiped out in a matter of seconds because they're not exactly bulletproof either.
Be funny if they did have bulletproofness.
Well, I think there are some games where your allies are bulletproof. But yeah, so you've got to be very, very careful with them. You do get to select who you bring with you, and those people have different weapons. So if possible, whenever the anti-tank gunner was available, the guy with the rocket launcher, I always took him because his rocket launcher isn't exactly useless against infantry. But if you come up against a vehicle, he can take it out in one hit. So I'd always pick him. And I found that most of the way through the game, I was either picking between the Scar, the best available Scar with a grenade launcher attachment on the bottom, and the AS-50 sniper rifle, which I think was like a Barrett, 50 cal.
Yeah.
And those weapons were pretty good. You do get scopes. If your weapon has a scope, you can scope in properly, hold your breath, and pull the trigger. But if not, you just have to sort of aim and hope you hit something. The actual shooting is very strange. It sort of reminds me of the assault rifle in Halo 1. You pull the trigger and the bullets just go everywhere. And then one of them will randomly go through the head of the person you're shooting at and they'll die. It's also got quite an advanced heads-up display. So I think that's supposed to be the point of the game. The helmet he's wearing is letting him see what you're seeing. So if you look at something and it says that you can order your team to go and do something, that comes up on the screen. And I
Yeah.
think he's actually seeing that as well. But you also get a heads up display of like tagged enemies and their health, so you can see exactly how close to being dead they are. So, it's where was I? What was I talking about?
I don't know.
Weapons.
What were you?
Yeah. So when you pull the no, I've said that you pull the trigger, bullets go everywhere, and then eventually one goes through. You do benefit from pulling the trigger a few times. You can tell your teammates to attack specific targets. You do get assistance, so you'll get a group of different helpers of reinforcements. So sometimes you've got a UAV that you can use to scan the area to find enemies. Sometimes you get a striker, which is an APC that you can hide behind, but also that will open fire. So the striker has 2 weapons, just like the tanks do in the game, which are also they're also there. They're also there to help you. Sorry. And what happens is that there's a turret on top, but the gunner can be killed, and the car itself has a weapon. Now, actually, if I think about it, I'm not sure if the APC has another weapon. I think it might just be the gunner on the top, but the tank has a main turret. I remember some small vehicle that had a turret of some description, but I can't recall exactly what it was. You also get helicopters. The occasional helicopter will come in, and when a helicopter comes in to help you, everything else in the world is going to die. You're basically immortal when there's a helicopter floating around. So your teammates can go down, but you can either send other teammates or you can go up yourself and revive them. So as long as you get to them before they run out of time, they're basically immortal. But that obviously has its limitations because I'm one hit kill. So if I send all of my team into a dangerous position just to like flash up all the enemies so we know where they are, if they all get knocked, if they all get killed, like I can't go and revive them. If they get put down, sorry, I can't go and revive them because I would just get killed in one hit.
Yeah.
And there's occasionally there was an issue with actually ordering my team to go somewhere. It just didn't quite work properly, and there was a couple of bugs. I mean, they were all fixed by turning off the Xbox or closing down the game and booting it back up. But they were there occasionally, and it was a bit tedious because it was quite difficult to actually play the game because it was very hard. It's a hard game at points if you're new to it. And there are a few missions where the game makes you play by yourself. You have to complete the mission by yourself, at least part of it. I think there was at least four, maybe five out of the 12 you were playing by yourself at part. It must have been at least five where you were playing by yourself at least partially.
Yeah.
And the checkpoint system really could use some work. There's too many times you go through a couple of fights and it doesn't checkpoint it, and you it, it it, it it needed some work on that. You don't need to be. It's location based checkpoints basically. Or if a special event happens. But if you've been through two or three gunfights, you know,
Yeah.
you kind of want it to checkpoint whether or not you've actually got to that doorway or not, because it's. I'm not talking about if you're in a stationary position holding waves of enemy off or something like that. Or I'm just talking about if you're moving from A to B and you go through two or three fights with a couple of bad guys on the way, you kind of want it to checkpoint. You know, especially on the missions where you're by yourself, you want it to checkpoint a little bit more friendly, but in a more friendly manner. But it's okay. You're all right. You get there eventually. The one other thing that I would have really liked, it only gives you one pistol option, and you've got grenades. You carry 6 frags and 6 smoke, but you're not able to actually change those options. The pistol, the grenades and smoke grenades, you have them for the entire game. It doesn't let you change them. You start each mission with the weapon you finished the last one on, so you have to choose to change your weapon. And there are times when it mandatorily gives you a weapon of a certain type. So if you're going to be in a very long range fight, it gives you a long range weapon, but you still pick which one of a few options you want. So that's nice. I think that's quite good. The alternative is to just let you pick and then you go in to like a sniper fight with a SMG. So I like it. I think it's quite organic. You feel like you are actually making a choice and you feel like it makes sense what you're doing. Um, you're given choices, but only ones which make sense. You're not left in a position where you can actually put yourself in a position where you've got to start a mission again because you picked the wrong gun.
Yeah.
At least the wrong gun type. And the one other issue that I had with it was that there was occasionally I would love to have been able to order the three people in my team separately from each other. If you order like a somebody to heal someone, or you order something like that, one of the team will go. But if you order them to go and stand next to a wall to take cover, they'll all three of them will do it. And it's just every now and again I wanted to put them in different places.
Yeah.
If you order the unit to attack a certain target, if they can all attack, they will. But if only one or two attack, then it I never had this problem, but I could foresee an issue where the one of the three you want to actually do the attack isn't able to because he's stuck in cover. Like if they're standing around the corner of a building and there's three of them standing there, if the one who's furthest away is the one you want to make the attack, he won't do anything because only the first two can poke around the corner. The other one will stay still. But I think the game might have something written in its coding to prevent that. Like the game contextually knows who the most appropriate person to do that is, so sends them to do it. Because I would order like my unit to attack a tank or a helicopter or a guy in a building or a group of people in a nested position with a stationary gun. And if I had the anti-tank guy, it was always him who did it. If I had the grenader, it was always him who did it. If it wasn't all three. So I think the game contextually applies the correct order to your team. So it worked for me. The,
Yeah.
the, the only thing I'd say is that while you get riflemen and you get grenadiers and you get anti-tank gunners, and I think you do get something approaching a heavy weapons specialist. I think I think there is a unit type where the guy's running around with a big machine gun. A gunner, that was it. It was called a gunner. But there's no sniper. If there's ever a need for a sniper rifle, you have to be the one to use it. They don't give you a teammate who is extreme long range. That's the only time I would say that's the only thing where something's missing. But if I'm being honest, other than that, I really loved it. There were points where I just were like, no, I can't handle this. I'm putting the controller down. But I'd come back the next day and I would be better at it.
That's
It felt
good.
really like a natural progression. It was very difficult to start with, and it got harder, but I got better. Um, I found my ways of playing. I just off the top of my head, right, just remembered that I was hiding behind a building, a corner of a building. I was getting ready to throw a grenade at a guy because I had a sniper and he was running at me, and he took cover really close, so I didn't really want to try and snipe him. And the pistol, I wasn't comfortable with it yet because it was very early in the game. So I got a grenade out and lobbed it at him, and when it went off, I felt several explosions, and then all my team died or went down. I had
Oh,
to go and
shame.
revive them. What happened was I threw a grenade at this guy, right? And that all went fine. But somebody further down the street in a machine gun opened fire, like a big proper machine gun. And my team had decided to take cover behind a car, which blew up when he shot it. But for a
Yeah.
split second, I thought my grenade had like blown up half the city and my team had somehow got caught in this explosion. Because the grenade went off and then an explosion went off behind me and then I didn't know what was happening. I thought I'd somehow blown them up. I was looking at them thinking, what have I done? But then I realized that the guy shooting was hitting the car. Um, yeah, so I just, there's funny little moments like that as well, which I just liked the game. I enjoyed it. It got really frustrating. I did shout about the checkpoints, but I really did like it.
That's good.
The good news for me is that I've also got Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2, so I can play the next one. It's yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Oh, I'm happy you are.
But one problem was I'd played it on the hardest difficulty and I got all the achievements for the hardest difficulty, but it didn't give me the ones for normal, like the difficulty down. I'd have to have replayed it on normal to get that.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Doesn't make sense.
No, it does not.
hmm Anyway, so yeah, I just really enjoyed it, and the story is actually the story, right? This is all I'm going to say about the story. It is quite enjoyable, but I had as much fun. I muted the game for a huge section and just played it, and I had as much fun doing that as I think I would have if I'd been in the story. And I unmuted it at the end and suddenly went, wait, what's happening? It turned into like a soap opera type thing to a degree. Um, but I think the best way of explaining it was that it was a normal shooter with like this story unfolding that actually got quite serious at points, but it
Yeah.
took on the feel of like a 90s action movie. Because
That's
for some
cool.
reason that I haven't quite been able to work out, like you're working with an operator who's in a helicopter, like giving you information or dropping you off at certain points, and
Yeah.
he's like your intelligence officer, and he knows some of the bad guys somehow.
Hold
And
on, I'm
then
just
by the
gonna.
end,
Sorry, I'm just gonna move. If you hear noise, it's just me moving my creaky, creaky leg.
okay, and by the end of the game, the main bad guy knows your character's name when you're just supposed to be a random soldier, I think. So I'm not quite sure how that happened because I had it muted in the middle, but it started to, when I put it back on for the last couple of missions, the sound on for the last couple of missions, it felt a lot like an action movie from the late 80s or early 90s, like a 90s action movie where the bad guy knows who the good guy who's coming to get him is. Whereas that's not actually believable if the bad guy is this huge big bad guy. You wouldn't know, you know?
Yeah.
So it it didn't really make sense that the leader of an entire army of rebels somehow knew your character's name. There might be a natural way in the story that I missed because I had it muted for a while, but it just felt like even if there's a way that makes sense, it might have been a little bit more of a believable story if it wasn't the case. It just gave this like so it was such a good sort of like almost like Jack Ryan movie, and then all of a sudden it just became a 90s action movie like with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it or something like that. It just like how like Die Hard.
Yeah.
McLean. It just
Yeah.
yeah, and I've got nothing against Die Hard, nothing at all. It's just that this doesn't make sense in this scenario for me. You know, even if they explain it away, it just doesn't make sense. It would have been a better choice not to do that. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to the second one.
That's cool. So,
Mhm.
is there anything else you want to talk about, Grow, or?
No, I also don't think anybody else calls it G.R.A.W.
I thought you just called it Grow.
Yeah, but I don't know if anybody else ever called it G.R.A.W. because I've never heard G.R.A.W. before. I
Right,
don't know.
are you gonna move on to the news?
Yes, we are.
Because we only have one piece this week,
It's
unfortunately,
only
I'm
a small
afraid.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
no,
is, just to say that there may be some construction work going on near me soon, so I might have to mute my mic. So if you accidentally
okay.
hear some drilling or something like that, I apologize.
And you will be executed post haste.
I don't think I'd mind
Um,
that.
the drilling will be annoying. Right, hold on. So it's a small story. Um, and well, I'll just start talking about it. A judge has adjudicated, because of lawsuits and counter lawsuits and reverse lawsuits and suplex lawsuits.
Excuse me.
I mean, okay, if I have to. That Apple is not allowed to revoke access to developer tools. So Fortnite, which was available on the Apple App Store, the developers of Fortnite um, used some Apple software, development tools, which I think everybody in the world uses. And there's an agreement between Apple and the rest of the world to use that stuff. And there's also an agreement between Apple and any of the games put up on their App Store, or apps put up in their App Store, App Shop, App Marketplace. And what's happened is that Fortnite developers used those tools, made a game. That's fine. They then put in place a in-app purchase system that bypassed the rules of the Apple App Store.
Right.
Um, basically, it meant that if you bought something in Fortnite, it didn't give Apple their 30%. It meant you were buying directly from Fortnite as opposed to buying from Apple, who then bought from Fortnite. So basically, Fortnite weren't paying their Apple tax, and so there were suits and countersuits when Fortnite got kicked off the Apple App Store, and then so they then sued Apple and all the rest of that. So a judge has ruled, right,
Yeah.
that Apple cannot ban Fortnite or any other developer from using the development tools that they have um, previously allowed people to use, because the development agreement is separate from the App Store agreement. So therefore, they have no right to ban people from using it. And due to competition rules, they're not allowed to ban people from using it unless the agreement is breached, and the agreement wasn't breached. However, because the Apple App Marketplace agreement was breached, they do not have to put Fortnite back on the App Store. So now Apple phone users can't play Fortnite.
No.
No, that's good. I don't like Fortnite. Fortnite can go and die in a corner, all alone and scared, cold, possibly wet. Don't like Fortnite.
Okay.
I don't like the game. I don't say anything about any of the people. I just don't like the game. I think it sort of sums up everything that's a bit wrong with gaming at the minute. I don't like it. Um, but I did find it interesting because one of the quotes actually from the trial or from the proceedings was that the judge in, I think it was California, said to Apple, "Why do you need 30%? Because that's what they take. It's a 30% cut. Why do you take 30%? Why isn't it 10 or 20? Because basically the development agreement is is quite rare. It's quite unique in a way. So you've got like publishers who take a cut, and Apple are one of those. So you get Steam and you've got Epic and all that, and they all take a cut. But Apple's is the biggest with 30%. So they were basically saying, why is that so large? And I don't think Apple actually were able to answer other than to say that nobody hands out their development tools for free or
No.
their apps. Sorry, not their development tools, their app store for free. Nobody, nobody doesn't take a cut. Um, it was weird though because that was a bit difficult to understand because that's a bit strange. But I think the idea was we they were trying to say we have a percentage cut on the App Store because we create development tools that people use, so we need to get that money back. I don't think the two were linked in any other way than this is how we get the money back.
Yeah.
But it was strange because the 30% is the shop, the app shop, whereas the development tool is a development tool. And they were comparing them with Epic. In Epic, Epic use I think it's Unreal, so they have a tool, a development tool, an engine, and if you use it, you pay less. It's interesting. You pay less of a share for each game purchased. Yeah, we put uh, a link to the exact story that I read, uh, but
I
it
forgot
is
to put a link.
interesting.
I forgot to put a link to the letter in the last story. I've just realized that.
You can go back and do it now that you remember. Um,
Oh,
but
silly Billy me.
hmm but yeah, I just find this story to be very interesting that Apple couldn't really defend the 30%, and it was interesting that you were allowed to refuse to pay it, basically. Because that's basically what's happened. They've used the development tool, which is being protected by consumer rights and innovation rights in America. They can't block access now that they've like let so many people use it. Um, but they also people can't force themselves to be put on the app shop either. I don't think so. It's interesting. That doesn't really help Apple very much because if everybody pulls out of Apple, nobody's going to have anything to do on their phone. I don't think everybody would, but I don't think losing Fortnite. I suppose it doesn't matter to Apple, does it?
No.
Because if they can't get Fortnite to pay the 30%, why would they put Fortnite on the phone? Because they're not going to get anything for it either way, are they? So why do that? So yeah, I suppose being able to block Fortnite um, does give an appropriate punishment because it was deliberate. Fortnite deliberately put some lines of coding in that meant in-app purchases went from Fortnite directly as opposed to through Apple. So it was deliberate. So you can see why if Fortnite are trying to find ways around that, you wouldn't want their game there because you won't get your cut. But I did find the fact that Apple actually have these development software tools that everybody in the universe uses. Even though if you actually look at the games that Macs have and stuff like that, it's not very good. So I found that really interesting actually. But other than that, what I really found a bit interesting about it was just that Apple and Fortnite, I'm not great fans of either, just having a wee big fight with each other over 30% and nobody can explain the 30%. It's just like it's a fight over who gets to be greedy. And because it's Apple charging 30%, you might be inclined to side with Fortnite, but Fortnite are just a loot box mechanic. Fortnite is just a loot box mechanic with some game sort of like seasoned over the top, like like a small splash of something or a small amount of salt and pepper or a little bit of that really disgusting cheese that some people like and other people don't. Um, Over the top. It's not really a full game. It's just trying to get people to buy loot boxes. So it's like who do you actually side with? I just siding with the judge because it felt like a really well reasoned verdict. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because it's greed incarnate. So I just wanted to talk about it.
Nice.
Do you have any thoughts?
So yeah, I suppose it's good that Apple have done it, but it's more it's just because it's more for tit for tat type of thing, it seems like.
Yeah.
So it's not done for the right it's done, which is good, but it's not done for the right reason.
Aye. Apple have done it for themselves, so have Fortnite. Nobody's done it for the consumer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's done for the wrong reason.
Yeah, pretty much. Which I think is just... You're right.
I was blowing a raspberry.
Yeah, I think it's alright. At the end of the day, is anybody going to really take a massive financial hit from it? Probably not.
Oh no, neither company's going to go bust, but Fortnite's
still going to do loot boxes, but it's good that people won't have access to it on their phones anymore, because let's face it, a phone is more of a...
Apple phone. On an iPhone.
Apple phone, sorry, my apologies, on an iPhone, because I think iPhone is still like one of the most popular, and actually no, I don't think it is, no, I still think it's no longer the most popular brand. But a phone has more accessibility than like a console does, because not everybody has a console.
Yeah.
In order to play Fortnite, so at least they're not getting to everybody now. But again, it's done for the wrong reasons why Apple have blocked them.
Yeah. I firmly believe that I do believe this, if you make a game for a console and for PC that can be played on a phone, then that game is not good enough.
Yeah.
There's no way that phone should be able to do that. Or the consoles of the modern age are not good enough. There's no way a phone should have the power to do that.
Like, it's different if you're playing like Monopoly on a console, on a PC, and on a phone, because that's pretty simplistic in terms of what it is.
Yeah, graphically, mechanics is very simple.
But you can't exactly be playing a AAA game on a phone or anything like that. Did I get that right?
Yes, the one that springs to mind for me is Halo. People were saying that Xbox are working towards streaming the Halo onto your phone. It's just like, no.
No.
No, 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 no. It's not good enough if I can do that. Make it better.
Yeah. So, that is all the stories we have for you today.
Yep.
We hope you've enjoyed listening to us.
Yes, we do.
And you can leave a comment down below. You can email us at overshadow.shadowcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at overshadow.shadowcast. You can hit the subscribe button. You can hit the share button. You can do all that jazz.
Notification bell. Notification bell. Notification bell.
bell.
Notification bell. Notification
Okay.
bell. Notification bell.
Okay.
Notification bell. Notification bell.
Okay.
Notification bell.
Please stop.
Notification bell.
And hopefully you guys will be back next week. All I can say is stay safe out there, everybody. My phone just bleeped at me for some reason. Sorry if you heard that.
Bleep. Bleep.
All that's left for me to do is say goodbye.
Yes, I hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.
Bye.